Band Championship in Bangor.
In our last programme, I may have left you thinking that I'm something of an expert on the subject of pipes and drums. Well, I'm not, but I'm getting there, and I'm really beginning to enjoy it. A bit like these drum majors, although you wouldn't think it by the look in their faces. But then again, this is serious stuff.
Jeff, what exactly is the role of the drum major?
The drum major principally is in charge of the drill and the discipline within the band. In years gone by, he was actually the person in charge of the drummers. That has now progressed, so he is now the person with the mace that walks in front of the band. But it was a position that was taken up by the senior drummer as such, so therefore you get the drum major. But nowadays you principally are talking about someone who's responsible for the drill and the discipline within the band unit.
Now, when you refer to the drum major there, you say he. Is it necessarily always a male?
Absolutely not, but obviously from my own point of view, you know, it's more often it will be male as opposed to female. But there have been female world champion drum majors. One that I used to compete against, and she was last world champion in 1982, so no, not necessarily that it's a male.
Now, what's happening in behind here? Similar to what we've been watching before.
Okay, the drum majors competition is broken down into 3 units. The first section is the dress section, and you're marked out of a maximum of 20 points. Basically, it's a very precise and exact thing, where you literally judge on how symmetry of your legs are matched up, how the laces are crossed, they're on the same part of the pattern of the sock, your kilts aligned in perfect central position, etc., etc. So it is very precise, and a point lost there can be absolutely crucial in the overall mark. So that's the first part. The second part then is the marching and the reportment, and that's basically how the marching, the carriage of the body, the maintenance of the eye level, etc., and that carries a total of 40 points. And the third section is what we call flourishing the mace, and that's actually twirling it around, would perhaps be the best description of it. That's left down to each individual person what he wants to do. But again, it's marked out of 40, and it's subdivided into the variety, how difficult the moves are, and the quality way that they're performed. So that's giving you an overall score out of 100 points.
So they're more than just a figurehead then?
Oh, absolutely. As I say, when you relate the actual position of a drum major to the competition, it's symbolic more so in the competition of them being in front of a band. But obviously it's not practical to have 5 bands and 5 drum majors all walking along. So you have a band standing at the side whilst the drum majors are performing.
The drum major carries what's called a mace. Now, what can you tell us about that?
Well, the mace, or staff, as people in Scotland sometimes refer to it, it's just a symbol for a drum major. Competition ones vary greatly from what was traditionally used within army and military organisations. Competition maces now, you're talking in the region £500–600 for one that would be used at this level of competition in adults. Generally speaking, it's constructed, the wooden part, which would appear to any onlooker, is Malacca cane, which comes from the Orient somewhere. The head is, generally speaking, a very, very light and hollow alloy. They do vary in weight, but the average competition mace weighs somewhere in the region of about 2 pounds. But it can become quite heavy if you're carrying it for a prolonged period of time.
Would the drum major normally practice with the mace away from the band?
For competitions, yes. But at the end of the day, the competition is what it is. It's a competition. Towards the end of the day, you will see them with their own band, and that's when the drum major really comes into their own light. When they're with the band, controlling and directing the movement of the band, where they go, what they do, and what time they do it, basically.
Gavin, in the programme here we've got a couple of pieces, The Successful Lover and Sleepless in Santa Rita. Now, that doesn't sound like traditional favourites.
No, they're modern compositions, and instead of playing totally positional tunes as you would in a march display and rails competition, the medley selection offers you this freedom of playing modern compositions. and there are a lot of them being written today, very, very good competitions as well.
So when they're written, are they written with the drum in mind, the pipes in mind, or both?
Well, what happens is the piper will write the piping tune usually, and that's the leading drummer then will write a drum score to go to that tune. So the drum scores are all as much the original as the pipe scores.
Are the drum scores, or have the drum scores been around for many years now? Is it a relatively new thing?
Well, there are traditional drum scores, such as scores written by Alex Duffert, which have been around for quite a long time, but bands nowadays are actually playing more modern scores because of the new talent. You know, they want to be a bit more original, should I say, in writing scores. Not necessarily better, but more original.
So we've come a long way then from Scotland to the brave.
I think so.
Sam, there's a real cacophony of sound in the air here today. Now we're in the car park at the moment, and they're even playing here.
Well, the pipe major has to get his band tuned, and that means he has to get all the chanters tuned together, all the drums tuned, and he has to get them tuned at exactly the right time, ready to play.
How important is the air temperature to the sound that the pipes will produce?
Oh, this is very important, and it's a skill of the pipe major to know exactly when to start tuning his band, how long to play for, when he stops them playing. In weather like this, which is cold weather and damp, actually, the less you play, the better. In fact, the sound you start with is probably the best sound you're going to get all day.
Is this a bit like a motor racing driver warms up the tyres in his car?
Absolutely, you get your engine at peak performance for exactly the start of the race.
Gav, what have we got here?
What we've got here is Rivara drum corps from grade 1. They've probably been practicing for about half an hour, maybe longer, and it takes that length of time just to loosen up their wrists and get used to the cold weather. On top of that, they'll also be looking at the sound and the tone of their drums.
Well, I just noticed the sound of the drums there. It's a really, really crisp sound. What sort of material is used as a drum head nowadays?
Well, nowadays what they use is a material called Kevlar, and just to give you an idea of the tight density and strength in the material, it is also used in the manufacture of bulletproof vests.
Goodness. And what's the next stage for them now once they leave this area here?
Well, at the minute, as I said, they're really warming up and making sure the drums are tuned properly. The next stage is to concentrate on their playing and playing together and building confidence within the drum corps so that everybody's really hyped up before they hit the line.
How long would it take someone to get to this standard, grade 1 drumming standard?
It's hard to say, but on average probably about 10 years. That is the amount of work that's required to get to that standard.
What happens then if one person has to drop out in a day? Does that affect the ultimate performance?
Well, that's ultimately the leading drummer's decision, and that happens very often, lots of times. What the leading drummer really tries to do is determine whether he's going to have to drop somebody before the day rather than disappoint on the day. But that happens all the time, yeah.
You know, it's amazing the things that people do at events like this. Here's a guy's got earphones in. I wonder what he's listening to. Hello! How you doing?
All right, how are you?
Excuse me, sorry for interrupting you, but
You're okay?
is that Downtown you're listening to?
No, it's not, no.
What is it?
That's our performance there about 5 minutes ago.
So you were actually in the ring?
Yeah.
How did you do?
Played okay. Decent enough.
What band are you with?
It's Frank Rainey Memorial from Drum and S.
So can you really assess how well you've done just by listening on those headphones?
Oh, well, yeah. Oh, it gives you a good idea of how you've gone, yeah. It does indeed.
Let me hear it just a second. That's Michael Jackson. What are you talking about?
Don't be starting now.
Okay.
When it comes to sussing out the big-name bands in grade 1, you've really got to know what you're looking for and where to find them. Persistence is what pays off here, and when you do manage to track them down, it's worth every second of your search. Before you ask, this is the pipe major of the Strathclyde Police Band. Like William Wallace in Braveheart, this man looks as though he's ready to do battle with his opponents.
It's in a circle, Eric.
Now, what about this? Scottish Power, as always, generating plenty of interest. But the band that everyone wants to see is Shots and Dykehead, Scotland's finest, and they know it.
Gavin, the band behind us are of particular interest to you.
Yeah, well, this is Shots and Dykehead. I mean, they're one of the top class drum corps in the world. A drum corps at this level doesn't worry about playing together. They can do that. They don't worry about technical ability. They can do that. So what they have to add to the performance is musicality, which is ups and downs. I'm talking about volume. Crescendo, diminuendo. That means gradually getting louder, gradually getting smaller, going from a very loud accent to nothing.
When the critics come along here to watch them, is there really much for them to criticise?
The only thing that you could criticise, and it wouldn't even be criticism, it would be comment, would be material, and that is what they say.
What are you looking for here, Sam?
But from a piping's point of view, if you listen to the band playing, you get a lovely singing quality from the chanters, and they're all tuned in beautifully. You get this lovely singing quality. Then in addition to that, you've got the drone sound over the top, sitting over the top of the chanters, and I visualise it like a glass dome sitting right on the top of the band. And then the drones are perfectly tuned, and the band is playing perfectly together, and that's what we're getting from Shots there.
Right, egg in the fiddle reel, right, remember, loosen it up.
As everyone watches the burly Scots strut their stuff on the way to the circle, I can reliably inform that among them is Jim KILPATRICK, the world solo drumming champion.
Well, today I feel very confident, more so because the rain clouds have went away and the sun shines out. And we're playing not too bad either. I think we've been very consistent. I think the sound that we've played this year has been consistent up to now, so the idea is just to keep it going and hope for the best.
Now let's not forget our own here. This is the Field Marshal Montgomery Pipe Band. Uh-oh, another pipe major in the warpath. So to the arena they go, band after band, each with only one thing in mind, winning. For the Field Marshal, the battle has been done. But has the war been won?
Gordon, you were looking fairly confident coming off there today. Is that how you really felt?
The band had a very good performance, as good a performance as we could ask for in there. Windy conditions, it makes it that bit more difficult to even stand because the wind's blowing against you, but the band played very, very well.
You were making quite a few adjustments there in the final tuning.
These weather conditions aren't ideal for both pipes or drums. With the wind, it's very difficult to get hear what the clarity of sound is. So the final adjustments are being made by both the pipe major and myself prior to going in.
Given the fact that this is the European Championships, just how does that add to the nerves on the day?
It's a very intense hobby, as you probably can gather, when you're competing at top level here and at the other levels. Just before you go in, it's quite intense and quite nerve-wracking, so people need to be very well versed and very well practiced. If you haven't practiced, that's when it shows when you go out into the competition arena.
I see the young brother cracking the whip there today as well.
Yes, he's my young brother, but he cracks the whip when I listen.
So as this European event draws slowly to a close, the battleground has been cleared to make way for the climax of this important gathering of the men and women in kilts. Very soon all of the bands who've come here with hope in their hearts will find out exactly how they've done. You know, it really is a waiting game, and this young man knows it. Of course, there are those who settle their nerves with a quick bottle of beer. As for me, well, I'm getting excited as well. Should this be so?
On the march past for our 19 and 1997 European Head-Down Championships, our centre-bound
Grade 1 success for the Scots, as expected. Of course, that means disappointment for the rest. But then again, you know what they say. Some you win, some you lose.
In an event like this, the seat counts. It's never good to happen.